Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. What's going on? Let's take a look at some stuff. What an insanely crazy day. Oh, look at that. Coin is actually up about $13 after hours. Insane. What? What a nice little rip. I know that Tom was actually holding coin calls. What's going on, Simon? GME? I'll take a peep at it for you. Damn, coin. Wow, what a rip. All right, but welcome in, guys. I know that Dapper's gonna be starting his class very shortly, so let's get right into it. Dive into some charts. Take a look at what you guys may be holding, what you may be interested on. But first ticker request I got was GME. Let's take a look at it, see what we got. Let's see. I want to say this looks like an inverted head and shoulders action right now. I do want to say that. Trust me. Would I say that I'm exactly convinced about it? No, I'm not. Let me look at the line chart. Let's see if we get a definitive neckline out of this. Do we get a definitive neckline? Might be a little tough going to get one. Let's see if we can find this. Just adjust the chart. All right, so if I actually put this back into the candles now, this would be our actual trend line in which we would presume that this is going to end up being our inverted head and shoulders. What's going on, Randy? An insane day. I got to say, I don't think this was just mind blowing for everyone in general. I mean, you pretty much heard the reactions from live. So insanely crazy kind of day. I think the biggest thing you heard me and Avery pretty much going back and forth. Do we get some kind of continuation off of this, or do we fade this tomorrow? I mean, according to what I'm pretty much hearing and what the headlines are, the tweets and whatnot, is that hedge funds pretty much loaded the boat today. That's pretty much what it sounded like. Now, is that completely accurate that they're looking to call this the bottom? That's where it's a decision point tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see if there's any headline that really just shakes the market tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. All right. But as I get into some charts real quick, because I know that Dapper's going to be starting his class very quickly, so I can get through some charts that maybe you guys are looking at in particular. The one that was just called out to me was GME. So this one I have not looked at in quite a while. I do want to say it looks like it has an inverted head and shoulders action going on. And as you see, I was trying to get a defined neckline out of this one. So if we can end up taking out this, I want to say if me personally, I would be looking to see if this breaks 128 ideally. If you get a push over 128, then I would say to go long on this one. You do have the 1 month high that's currently sitting at 132.84. That's 85. So 1 month high is sitting at 132.85. That's something to also be noted about. So you're looking at about potentially about a $12 move from current level to the 1 month high. Some intermediate resistance. You also have a resistance point at 129.80. That's also a pivot point that you have going on. So 129.80 would sit you right about here. Probably get a little trend line going so you get a visual. 129.80 would be right about here. See, oh, just had it. Right about here would be where you're looking at your trend line, your point, pivot point is what I meant to say. All right. So that's what I'll be looking for is particularly that 1 month high of that 132.85. Otherwise, if you get continuation off of that, next level that I'd likely look at in terms of a zone in which you've actually acted as support or resistance will be right around this level in which you particularly started to break down. So right around this zone would be where I particularly look at, in which that's between 143 up towards 145. And so as you see, that was a prior level in which you tried to consolidate after a heavy leg down, and then you got a continuation and a breakdown. So that's what I would end up looking at. But I do think that this inverted head and shoulders is a little more skeptic to me. We know how the meme names pretty much react. I haven't paid too much attention to the meme names, but I would take this one over this 129 level, 130 per se. I think I would probably feel a little more comfortable breaking out of that pivot point and then taking that up towards that 143 to 145 level. That would be my ideal way in terms of playing this. I wouldn't want to get faked out trying to get in a little early around this 128 mark. I would wait for that pivot point to break around this 130 round number level, and then I'll play that up to that 142, 145. if that's what you're trying to do. All right. So that's what I would pretty much suggest there in terms of trying to play this meme name of GameStop here. All right. So hopefully that helped you there, Simon. Someone also mentioned Fubo, one of Avery's favorite names of last year, pretty much. This one is one of those names in which I pretty much usually say that it has a defined downtrend, in which once it has a defined downtrend, I usually stay clear until we break that downtrend. And this goes along with the names of like the Roku, the Peloton, all these names that have just continued to die endlessly. It looks like we may have put in some type of bottom here with today's action. But until we end up breaking this downtrend resistance, which is pretty much sitting, I want to say right around 950 half, in which it looks like we also have a little gap fill here if I zoom in. See this little gap fill above 950 as well. So you'll likely break that downtrend resistance around 950. Until you get that $1.10 move basically, I would likely end up staying clear. That would be my best advice. Otherwise, you're taking a shot or you're particularly trying to get shares out of this to go long term. So hopefully that kind of helps you, Daniel. But the only thing that I'm very big on is the fact that once you have these very elongated downtrend resistance, it usually can end up hitting the resistance and going right back down. So it could be that your short-term target right here is at 950. It rejects and it comes right back down. And that's what I would pretty much fear if you're trying to get like a short-dated option call on this one. All right. So that's what I would pretty much suggest about this one is either you're trying to play for the 950 into the downtrend resistance, or you wait for that 950 break of the downtrend resistance, and then you could play it up, in which you do have a little bit of resistance right here, right around close enough to that $12 mark. As we see that we end up breaking, if I actually draw the line, you see that was prior support and prior resistance previously. So you end up trying to consolidate, in which that was distribution right there, along after that high leg down, and then you ended up acting as resistance as well around that $12 mark. So if you break 950, you take that right up to the $12 mark rather easily. Otherwise, you just play for the short term to the 950 and the downtrend resistance. All right. Hopefully that helped you there, Daniel. Let's see. Anyone else have a name that they want to look at? Actually, I should look at coin, considering that after hours move. Wait, whoa, what just happened? Wasn't that just up quite a bit? Now it's flat. That is insanely crazy. This is another one of those names where it just has a defined downtrend resistance. Just another name like that, pretty much. That's basically what I see out of this. See if I can get the downtrend resistance pretty much ideal. All right, there we go. So pretty much downtrend resistance right here. If we get any kind of continuation out of this one, maybe tomorrow, in which we get a beautiful move and maybe some upgrades come tomorrow, maybe we can get a break here over that 200 mark. But right now, that looks very key going into tomorrow. Otherwise, we see it's going to potentially move down between one to about 198 or so if we get a move pretty much earlier next week. But 198 to 200 is where you're going to end up potentially testing that downtrend resistance. Until then, if you don't get that move, I would pretty much stay clear. Similar to how Fubo is, you have that downtrend resistance. So otherwise, you pretty much get into that 198, 200 mark and you easily reject. And that's not going to be pretty. All right. So right now, to me, that's pretty much just a knife catch. You could have ended up sniping the bottom. I think if you got in under this double bottom action, which is basically a knife catch, under this 160, 260, pretty much like what Tom did last night, in which then that would have ended up being a heavy reversal that he pretty much had, but you maybe have had to uh, double down on that this morning. All right. So pretty much 198 200 would likely be the level in which I would pretty much stay clear until it really breaks that level for me. That's just personally what I would say. Define downtrend resistance right now. I'm not messing with that. Look at open. Let me take a look at open real quick. Let's see. Actually, open actually has a nice little. We did cause an inverted head and shoulders. Now, that's a little skeptic as well, but I do like the fact that we looks like we actually broke that neckline of this as well. And I do believe we actually have earnings as well. Oh, earnings were today. So I see it's up just a few cents here, up 2 cents or so. But I do like the inverted head and shoulders. I think I do like this name. I can get up behind on this one. I know that we had some actual flow data that came out on this one, so I don't mind it at all. I know that we had a prior little gap fill here. It's actually acted twice as a resistance level upon in between that gap fill. So looking at that resistance previously, we're looking at that $12 mark. So about a dollar from current level right now. Otherwise, if we get above that level, I'm looking at particularly right around this zone right here, in which this has actually acted as a prior resistance, prior support level, very, pretty much very more than once. We actually had it act as a support level from dating back from December 15th, also on December 17th, a little bit of a resistance January 5th, and then we see the wick of it right in from the beginning of January. So I do like that level here going into that $13 mark if we can go ahead and break over $12. But otherwise, you're trying to play this up to the $12 mark and then take some profits there, expecting resistance and a U-turn basically, possibly to even retest off of this inverted head and shoulders. All right. So that's what I would say, but $12 to $13 would potentially be my price target off of this one. I like the fact that you broke the neckline, so it definitely gives me a better indication of wanting to get into this one. Ideally, though, I would like to end up seeing a retest off of this breakout. So maybe we get a little bit more of a pop. We get about to 11.5. We get a nice retest, and that's when you potentially try to go long and open, whether it be with options or it's with calls or with shares, I mean. All right. So that's what I would say about that one. Other one you pretty much mentioned was DKNG. I have not looked at DKNG in a while either. I gotta say that. Beautiful actual gap fill that actually is just in completion here. So that's one thing I did notice. We do see the fact that this one does have quite the downtrend as well. And so trying to determine where this downtrend actually hits its resistance is really what is my concern right now. So let's see where we can find this downtrend resistance at. Maybe the line chart probably helps a little bit better. See the line chart. Let's see. All right. So let's see the downtrend resistance off of this one. Maybe we get a better picture here. Maybe right off of this point. Oh, not quite. Move this up. All right. So here's what I would probably say would be more so my convincing downtrend resistance point right here. Move that. All right, so we go back to the candles, and so this is what I would potentially be looking at. So you already got the gap fill, like I mentioned. So you're going to be hitting into resistance here, just short term here, right around 2260 will be where I say you're going to end up hitting into downtrend resistance. If you get that break over that downtrend resistance, potential levels that you're practically looking at will be right around this level of this mark. I want to say for a better term, you're looking at a level between 23 up towards 2380. So 23 flat to about 2380 will be where I'm potentially looking at in terms of my first targets. Otherwise, looking at the next level of consolidation or resistance that we've had previously, I'm looking right around this mark, in which this may end up being a hard resistance level sitting right here at 26 flat. So as you see, you've actually acted as a prior support or resistance quite often at that 26 level before you flushed all the way down back from the second week of January. All right. So if we can get over this 2380 mark on the break of the downtrend resistance here of 22.5, then I'll be looking at a move towards 26 flat, and that'll be a beautiful move that you can take on that one. All right. But other than that, for right now, until it ends up breaking that 22 half mark, I would likely stay clear again, waiting for that downtrend resistance to get a clean breakout. All right. But I think those are the names that pretty much everyone wanted to look at so far. I know that Dapper's just about to start his class, so hopefully those few tickers that I just reviewed for you guys pretty much helps you. Uh, we'll turn our attention, pretty much switch over to Dapper's class, see what Dapper's got to discuss. But today was definitely wild. Again, if you guys didn't hear us on live with me and Avery pretty much trying to go back and forth and indecisive about the fact whether this exaggerated move to the upside today, do we get a continuation tomorrow in which this signifies the bottom today? Or do we end up getting a retracement, whether it be a 0.382 retracement, a 50% retracement tomorrow off of this move, in which could potentially smell even more trouble going into next week. So that's a bigger picture. I'm gonna be interested to see if there's any headlines that comes out tonight that pretty much continues off of the debacle that happened last night with Russia and Ukraine. So that's something that's still gonna be on watch. But I do like the fact that Biden actually came out. It looks like he had some positive statements to say in which the market did like. It did continue to rally. So that was a positive sign. So I'm going to look for anything that maybe shakes the futures tonight. And then we'll go from there, taking it day by day. I am cash overnight. So I'll be ready for 0 day tomorrow. But if you are playing 0 day tomorrow, especially with this kind of market volatility, I would suggest trying to stay in the money or at the very least at the money, because if you're going to go out of the money, you are playing with fire, especially during these kind of market volatility times. All right. Normally on a regular 0 day, I know that some of you actually take risks, you go out of the money. But if you do not know what you're doing in this kind of market environment, especially, be cautious about that. All right. Because I wouldn't want anyone losing money off of that matter. All right. But other than that, today was definitely a big surprise. I'm pretty much excited to see what tomorrow's going to bring. And I'll just wake up, see what the market gives me, and I will play it out level by level there and pretty much look to see what ends up happening. From what I pretty much saw today is that we pretty much broke a clean breakout. If I pretty much just look at names like, I think Microsoft just went bonkers. If you actually looked at the weekly chart on that one, if I just touch bases real quick, like I ended up thinking that Microsoft was gonna get a clean breakdown today. That didn't end up happening. As you see, it hit the wick. It broke the trend line support off of the weekly time frame. This is not a daily time frame, but it literally just ate it right back up as we literally just pushed north. So I'm gonna look to see if we pretty much retrace this level. Otherwise, I do have a little bit more room up here to the upside towards 296 half, and I'm gonna want to see what it potentially does there as well if we get any kind of continuation or gap up tomorrow. But that's pretty much just an example showing you like what I pretty much saw across the board. It looked like a lot of breakdowns were taking place, and it just ate it right up across the board on a lot of the weekly charts, to say the best. All right. But again, let's switch over to Dapper's class because I know he's about to start just shortly here. But hopefully those few charts I hope I helped chart for you guys actually did some good, give you some insight on that. All right, guys. But I'll meet you guys in the class with Dapper, and you guys have a great afternoon. Meet you in the morning. All right, guys.